Hello, hello. Come on in. Come on in. Hello, Nakia. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. We're going to allow people time to join. I hope you had a great day. I was looking forward to spending time with all of you today. Hello, Greg. Welcome. Big virtual hugs to you. Best boss ever. You are so awesome. Miss you. Hope you're doing well. Come on in. We'll give it a few minutes, allow people to join us. I know experienced a little bit of a delay on my side, so I want to make sure that I give people time to come in before we get started. Hello there, Luigi. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. So I'll give it just a couple more minutes. It's one of those things where since we're live, the fact that you showed up, we're going to give you a show like it's still 100 out there. A lot of people tend to watch this in the recording. Hello there. I think it's pronounced Arnab. Hi, Peru. Welcome, welcome. So glad to have you. I'm going to give it another couple of minutes and then we will jump on in. So, today actually is the Ask Lani Anything About Career. So, please start thinking of your questions. I have a few that were sent to me. So, I'll prime the pump with a few of those questions and answer them. But you can either type your question in the chat or you can go live with me. And to go live, all you have to do is request it via DM, and we'll give you a link to bring you behind the scenes so we can talk live. Hello, Arnab. Oh, big fan. Thank you. That feels weird to me. You know why? Because I do this just because I want to help. So I've got fans. That just makes my heart smile really big. I appreciate you for that. Hello, Peru. Yes. Now, why don't everyone type in where you're calling from? I would love to see where you're calling from. And then we're going to go ahead and get started. So type in the chat where you're calling from. What city are you in? I'm in Chicago today. So where are you? Tell me. Hello from Nevada. Okay, Ashley's in Nevada. Others, where are you from? Yeah, Peru. Yeah, awesome. All right, calling in from Seattle. Love that. Okay, I see some are multitasking and they're not going to tell me where they're calling in from. That's okay. You can tell me later. Grand Prairie. Wow, I love Texas. Calling in from Seattle as well. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you. Washington, D.C. Love that. D.C. in the house. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I do want to thank you for creating space for us to have this important conversation today. For those of you joining for the first time, my name is Lani Phillips, and I am here to host our modern mentoring session. I usually start off by just letting everyone know how it became so. It literally was just me trying to create space to find a way to scale my mentoring efforts so that I can touch more people. And I tell you, I've been doing this is the sixth session, and I have been overwhelmed with feedback that you want me to continue to do this. And so now it's just a natural part of my rhythm. And I look forward to spending time with you every other week. I used to do it every week, but I've got a busy period right now. We're about to start our Q4 and kick off our new year. So I needed a little bit of space, so I couldn't do it every week, but every other week I'm committed to being here. So thank you. Hi, Carlos. Thanks for joining. So, with that said, today was Ask Lani Anything About Career. And I do get a number of questions sent to me in various forms. So I actually have a few questions that we've curated that I was going to share with the group. But I want you to be thinking about what questions you have that you would like to discuss with me. You can type it in the chat and then we can bring it on the screen and I'll address it. If you feel like you want to go come live, just send me a DM and we'll get you a link to the behind the scenes so we can bring you live and we can have a conversation. But I would love to get started with our first question. So I'm going to ask Ashley to put our first question on the screen. So I put this one first because I thought it would ease us into some of the topics. What experiences help shape how you practice inclusive behaviors, both as a leader and as a team member? Well, it's kind of funny. I think about the experiences that shape me around the inclusive leadership behaviors is really because I've been a part of those groups where I've seen people left out of the conversation, or I felt like people didn't feel like we see them, hear them, or value them, or they just kind of were out of place and lost. And I've personally felt it. And I think I've shared with you through my modern mentoring sessions. I'm a mother. I have a son, he's 11, and my son does have special needs. And I just have a natural empathy, I think, for inclusion because I get to live with someone every day that really he's on the autism spectrum, but I have to really think about making sure that we give him time to express himself because he has to search for his words. It doesn't just flow out of his mouth very easily. So I've just naturally started slowing down as a mom to make sure he has what he needs so that he can really thrive. And I think it's just carried with me at work. But I would say the biggest thing that shaped me is just feeling the isolation from feeling left out and feeling like you don't matter and others don't see you. I experienced that a lot throughout my career. And I would love to tell you that at certain levels, once you reach certain levels in your career, that it goes away. I just think it's just new. Once you enter into new rooms and you're new to these people, it just takes time. And sometimes you'll go back to just kind of feeling out of place and you'll start to feel that isolation. So I've just worked harder to really try to make people feel included and make them feel like I see them, I hear them, and I value them. So that's kind of what shaped me. And I try to show up the same way as a team member. I'm sure I fall short some days, just like everybody else. I'm human, but I do try to be intentional around just making sure I recognize people. So that is how I would answer that. I think we have some questions coming through. Perul asked, your thoughts about women in sales. You're starting to see less of them. Wow. So I would say that I've been in sales a long time. So I am starting to see some women opt out of the corporate environment because of obvious reasons. COVID and the family is demanding a lot, or they are at that stage in their career where they're trying to decide, you know what, I'd like to start a family and I want to make sure that I'm fully present and able to focus. I also think in sales, and having been in sales for over 20 years myself, it can be a grind. It can wear on you. It's one of those things that if you've got that sales DNA, it drives you and you go from one deal to the next and you love to get in there and negotiate the deals and work with your customers to help solve their problems. But sometimes it's tough when you see those targets continue to grow, the expectations continue to grow. And we know, like anything, you're going to have great years, you're going to have good years, you're going to have some lousy years. And for some people, that's just too much. And they would like to take their energy and put it on another part of the business. I do know there's a number of organizations that have formed around women in sales. I would love to encourage more women to be a part of those communities so that they can each support one another as they're experiencing different challenges. But I'm really hoping that over time and once we get on the other side of COVID, you'll start to see more women return to sales. It was something that I enjoy and I still enjoy because I do carry a number and I have that accountability. but it does wear on you after a while, and you start to decide how you're going to prioritize your time. All right, so let's see. Parul, can you elaborate on your question? Oh, someone was asking you to elaborate more. Parul, did that answer your question, or were you looking for more? Just let me know, thumbs up, or if you want to come live, if there was some more detail there, I'd be happy to answer it. All right, I'll let you respond to let me know if that was okay. So let me see, there's a question on the screen. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Perot. I want to find a sponsor and would love some advice on how to approach it. So if those of you have been following me for a while, you know I say we go and we request and ask for mentors, but you kind of have to let someone agree to sponsor you because they've had exposure to you. So those of you who are looking for sponsors, I think it's so important to think about your immediate network and those individuals and those leaders that have access and visibility to your work. That is so important. And the first place you should probably start is if you have a mentor, through those mentoring conversations, have you provided them visibility to the types of things that you've been doing? Because it's usually those mentoring relationships where they will begin to advocate for you and become that sponsor for you, which the way I define a sponsor is that person who will speak for you when you're not in the room. They're the person that are in those rooms and they're hearing about opportunities before maybe they're made public. And they say, wow, I just thought of a great person. I've been mentoring this person for the last 6 months, and I know and have seen the quality of their work. I know this is an area they're interested in. I think you should talk to them. I'm a big fan. That's all it takes, and that can begin to open doors. But for those of you that do not have the mentors to even start with, I'm going to encourage you to get one. But I would tell you to start thinking about some of your key stakeholders that you support, if you support partners or customers, if you work very closely with some of your teammates, look for the ones that are in leadership or roles that can influence. If they are more of an individual contributor, maybe they can provide some feedback to your leadership team around the impact that you're making and the quality of your work. And then as you start to see that individual that really is starting to be the one taking notice to the quality of your work and you're getting a lot of positive feedback, I would go to them and say, hey, I'm looking at this opportunity. Since you've had visibility to the quality of my work, would love if you'd be willing to advocate for me. I think you have a relationship with this person, and you can begin to ask in that gentle way. But I usually tell people to start with the people who have front row seat to the quality of your work, usually stakeholders and people you support. And then if you don't want to start there or you've done that, then maybe even start with your mentor, someone that you spend the time getting to know, talking about your interests, and you sharing your work that way. So let me know if that answers your question. I see Luigi has a question. Many companies promote the idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The struggle to make it equitable for current, okay, hold on, I gotta get it settled in my screen started wiggling. Okay, hold on. And inclusion, but struggle to make it equitable for current and dedicated employees, but would instead reward job hoppers. So let me read that again because I know I broke it down. Many companies promote the idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion, the struggle to make it equitable for current and dedicated employees, but would instead reward job hoppers. So I think what Luigi, I hope I'm saying your name right. If I'm not, I apologize. I think what he is speaking to is the fact that a lot of companies now are talking about the importance of DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion. But where they have struggled are the diverse employees that are at the company, that they really haven't leaned in to say, all right, what are we doing? What are their interests? How long have they been at their levels? Are we providing the right support around these employees to make sure that they're getting what they need? How do we make sure we retain the minority talent we have, But instead, what they do is they'll go externally and bring in all the diverse talent. And I think that's what he's referring to when he says job hoppers, because they are moving from company to company, going to the highest bidder. And we'll bring in people who are diverse in nature, and then we'll pour all our energy into them. And we don't necessarily give the ones that have been here dedicated for a while the attention. And I would tell you that a lot of companies are struggling with that. One of the things that I would encourage anyone to do is, if you find that you're one of those individuals, and this is whether you're diverse or not, okay? Because I know I have all followers out here, whether you're diverse or not. If you have a dream in your heart that you want to do a certain job at the company, now let's set some ground rules. If you're an individual contributor and you're probably out of college or just into the workforce, first 5 years, don't go tell anybody you want to go be CEO, because they're going to laugh at you. Okay? But maybe say, I will aspire maybe in 15, 20 years to get there, but I would like to see if I could pursue more leadership roles over the next couple of years. Make sure that you state what it is that you want, and make sure that you have a development plan that supports the things that you want and the steps you're taking to get you there. And make sure you discuss it with your manager. Make sure you discuss it with mentors. Make sure you discuss it with people that have seemed to ascend through the corporation that you want to learn from, whether they're your mentor or not. Just make sure that you're able to tell your story and what you aspire to do. I think a lot of people forget to ask for what they want. But if you're not asking for it, I think it's going to be hard if you're going to expect everyone to know what that is and take their eye off the business and go, all right, now let me just really get focused here. When you come across that leader that intentionally focuses on you, you got something special. Most people are so focused on themselves and they're focused on the business. And yes, they care about you, but you kind of have to guide them, right? You kind of have to guide them and say, here's where I need help. They don't just naturally do that unless you're having some type of formal performance conversation or career conversation. So, Luigi, did I cover the general nature of what you were throwing out there? I want to make sure. I see you said perfect on how I framed it, so I hope I met your expectation. All right, so do we want to go to some of those prepackaged questions I had? I think someone sent me one on this one right here. I got this one and I said, oh, I'm sure somebody is feeling this way. So let's go ahead and address it. Oh, thanks, Luigi. I'm glad it worked. Yes, yes. Okay. I do not get along with my boss. How should I handle that situation? How many people have been in that situation? I can't see you, so you can raise your hand. I'm sure there are also people out there who feel that way about their colleagues, right? Styles don't mesh, whatever it might be. So I thought about this one before I put it out here, because I really wanted to make sure that I was really thoughtful here, because I have a friend who called me about this situation. And actually, this one didn't come from her, but I knew I had to talk about it. I had a friend who called me about a situation with her boss. She doesn't work for the company I work for, but I was really concerned. And one of the things, I gave her some advice, and I'm going to give it to you. She said to me that she said to me that the advice I gave her, she practiced it for a week and the entire relationship turned around. So I am going to definitely share this with you. And for those of you it can help, I would love for more people to tell me that this advice helped. So I'm going to start it with, and I see someone wants to come live, and so I'll bring you live after I answer this question. So when it comes to a boss that you feel like that doesn't like you, I think the biggest thing that I've had to learn is that it's not all about you, okay? And I say it's not all about you because we forget that our boss is human too. Our boss has strengths and have flaws, and they have insecurities, and they have demands on them both at work and at home. And sometimes they have good days and sometimes they have bad days. And sometimes we have bosses that are in jobs that they don't need to be in. And they are trying their best to deal with the imposter syndrome and show up as their best self and in hopes that no one sees them and what they lack in terms of a skill set. And the reason I say that to you is you really have to practice empathy when you're in that situation. And you have to remember, you know what? I need to step back and not make it about myself. And let me see if I can really try to put myself in their shoes. And when you start to put yourself in their shoes and start to develop some level of empathy for what they're going through, you probably can clearly articulate where the gaps are. It's probably easy for you to see the gaps because you get to interact with them every day. The first step that I would have you take after you've tried to put yourself in their shoes is to just practice a little bit more empathy when dealing with them. And the first thing you have to do is stop judging them because you've already acknowledged that all of these other things are true, right? So if you stop judging them, you'll stop being so harsh. And then in your conversations with them, you will use it more to seek clarity. And this was the tip that helped me a long time ago. And remember, you work for them. Your job is to help them be successful. Some people forget and they get hyper focused on themselves and they say, no, it's my job to help myself be successful. But in reality, your job is to help your boss be successful. And do you know what happens when you shift your energy to try to help them be successful? Usually, now this may not be in every case, but usually when they see someone that is helping them win, they turn around and reciprocate back to you. So I would say that advice applies even to a situation when you have a colleague that you don't necessarily care for their style either. I also think there's power in having a clearing conversation. You know what I'm talking about. That conversation where you say, you can't do it in anger. Remember this, don't do it in anger. But you can go to them and say, you know, I've experienced this and I've internalized it this way, but I want to make sure I'm not misunderstanding your actions. And just ask, right? And sometimes people are doing it and they're just totally unaware. Now, I ask you to not do it in anger because when we show up in anger, we become defensive and we become judgy and we start telling them how we really feel about them. And it's just because we're frustrated or we're angry. So if you can do it from a space of, I'm not trying to judge them, they're flawed, who knows what's going on in their life? Come on, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. So, in the middle of a pandemic, and everybody is just doing the best job they can, period. So give them a permission slip to just have a few bad days. But if you do it in a way that really demonstrates that you're in it to support them, and sometimes just asking the question, what does support look like for you, will make a person just pause and go, wow, they're not asking what I can do for them. They're basically asking, what can they do for me? Wow, it just shifts the energy. So I really hope that helps somebody. I did, like I said, I shared that with someone and they came back to me and gave me a report that just made my heart smile. So I really was excited that they were able to practice shifting that energy. And my executive coach recently made me do something. She made me stand on one side of my chair and she says, I want you to tell me exactly how you feel, right? And then she made me walk to the other side of my chair and she says, now I want you to stand on the balcony level and tell me what you see from up there. and it just changes the perspective. So I hope that shares some tips for you to help you get through that situation. And then if you still can't make it work after trying all that stuff, when appropriate, then you should probably look to find another role within the company. Okay? All right. So I hope that helps somebody. And I believe we have Pooja waiting to join me live. So I will let, hi there.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you.
Good. Where are you calling me from?
Seattle, Washington.
In Seattle. Awesome. So, what question do you have?
Um, so first of all, thank you for these sessions. They've been amazing. A
Oh,
lot to
good.
learn. Thank you.
Aw.
Um, in terms of question, so I've been really lucky for the last 15 years. I've been in technology sales, and it's usually my manager that I sort of have looked up on as a mentor, and I've been blessed to have several mentors in my career.
Yes.
Recently, I moved into a sort of a much bigger company and a corporate job, sales sort of thing. Um, Culture is different, and
Yeah.
that relationship with the manager is different. So I truly believe that for my career growth, I do need a mentor. But I've never seeked out or formally asked someone for that. So
Oh,
my
wow.
my question is like when you are seeking out for help, you know, you want the mentor to get something back from you as well, and which I want
Sure.
to be, able to help them as well. So how do you articulate that, and how do you get across that feeling of it's okay to ask for help?
First of all, it's okay to ask for help. We all
Yeah.
need it. Okay. So, let me set you
Yeah.
free right now. It's okay. I think the biggest challenge we have, and depending on who you choose to ask to be your mentor, is really it's been time. And it depends on, like me, I take mentoring serious, obviously. I try to invest in these. But I do have those one on one sessions, and there's only so many hours in a day. So I would say, if you're looking for a mentor to help you develop a set of skills that maybe you have as a gap and they have a strength in that area, be specific about that. Or if you're using them as a career mentor to help you with your professional development plan to help you get to the next career stage, then just be super clear with that mentor and make sure they're the right mentor to help you with those things. And make sure you tell them what you're looking for. One of the things that I think is healthy to do is when you are requesting the mentoring relationship, let them know what you'd like to get out of it. And I would say, and I'd love to make sure that I have something to offer you as well. So, as a part of our first conversation, I'd love to hear from you. What can I do to support you? And
Perfect.
that by itself will start a whole beautiful relationship for you.
Yeah, that's great because I've been in that mindset of doing the research and finding out like what can I give back before the call. So yeah, this makes total sense. Yeah.
Just ask. I think that's a powerful question. And you know why you need to practice that? Because you can misjudge it. So you'll be out here doing all this research on what you can offer, and they may want something as small
Totally
as,
different. Yeah.
for me, like I've had people ask me all the time, well, oh my God, how can I help you? Well, I remember I'll put her on a little bit of blast, but it's a good blast. Aditi always wants to help me, and I was like, help me with social. I am still learning how to navigate it, right? And when I asked her that, she was like, oh my goodness, I can tell you all about that. And she's just been right there by my side, just trying to coach me through it since I've been doing these lives. And I'm grateful to you, Aditi, for that. But I want you to know you never know where they may need help. Sometimes it's even reverse mentoring, depending on how high they are in the organization. They just want to understand maybe what the blind spots are and things they need to be thinking about as they're starting to lead across a multi generational workforce. So you never know what that person wants. So you make sure you ask, okay?
Absolutely. Thank
Well,
you.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thanks for joining. All right. Uh, do we have? I see someone, Mark Still. Hey, Mark, so good to see you out there. Shift the energy. to how you can help them. Such a wonderful suggestion. Thanks, Mark. So great to see you out there. So, do we have any more questions out here? That did I have? Oh, here's a good one. My career is not moving and I feel stuck. What would you recommend? Oh, how many people is that speaking to? I can't tell you how many people I get a chance to connect with that just feel stuck in their career. And the first thing I want to say to all of them is you're not alone. And believe it or not, a lot of people are looking for someone out there to solve it. And a lot of times the answers are right within themselves. They just need someone to unlock it. So, because I don't have that person live, I'm just going to tap into a few areas and hopefully I'll help someone. One, when your career is stuck, the first thing I'm going to ask is do you have a professional development plan or a career development plan or something where you've documented what you want and what you're working on and how you're going to get there? So, do you have that plan? And has that plan been shared with your manager? And have you had regular check ins against your progress against this plan? The second thing I want you to be thinking about is do you have mentors? And mentors are great, like we talked about a few minutes ago, whether they have a set of experiences and skills you want to learn from, or they're going to help you with your career progression. I had someone reach out to me. They said they had asked for a promotion, and their manager said, well, could you help me with the justification for your promotion? She actually asked for one meeting. All she wanted was she shared with me what she had accomplished and what she had accomplished over the last several years. And she says, it is time for my promotion. And I feel like I should be able to get promoted to a very senior level. And she says, I just need help. I need help writing a promotion justification that could get approved. That simple. That was the only ask. Pooja, you see how specific she was? She was that specific. That's all she wanted from that conversation. And we worked on it. And if you have not socialized your plan with your mentors and been very specific about what you're working on and need to do, then that's what you need to do. The other thing I would say is, are you clear on what you want, or are you leaving it too general? There comes a point in time in your career where you've done a lot, like myself, where you tend to be a little bit more general because you're not necessarily thinking about your career like this ladder. You're thinking about it in terms of experiences, and you're also thinking about how you can be a solution to a problem or how you can be a part of transforming something. So that's just a different set of experiences. But for you, if you're one of those that thinking in terms of I'm at this level and now it's time for me to be at this level and I want to be at this title, then you need to be very prescriptive about what are those things you need to do and in what time frame, and you need a coach or a mentor to help guide you on that journey to make sure you're having the right conversations. If you have gone for jobs and you have not gotten them and you feel stuck, you need to go back and ask, and not when you're angry and extremely disappointed. After you've had time to process the disappointment, I want you to go back and ask for an opportunity to get some feedback from your interviews so that you can understand what are those things you did well and what are those things that you need to work on. I think that's going to be critical because we all have blind spots. I'm going to say that again. We all have blind spots, and we need people around us that will tell us what's getting in our way from being able to progress. So I will summarize it this way. When you feel like you're stuck, many times you have to start with yourself to say, have I done the things to make sure that I'm developing myself? I'm communicating what I want. I have regular check ins. I have mentors or coaches, board of directors, whatever you want to call them, to make sure that I'm getting that feedback and showing up the way that I need to show up. Let me also offer this to you. I also think it is so important that if you're going out for a really important interview, do a trial run with a mentor or a coach or a friend that you think is really good and say, hey, I would love for you to do a trial interview with me. I'm a little rusty and I'm a little nervous. Can we talk about just kind of have role play with me a little bit so I can kind of plan for the worst? And I always tell people, let's have a really good one and then let's have a really bad one. Because you know how it goes when you're getting prepared for that interview, you're already dressed rehearsing tragedy and what that bad experience would be like. Go ahead and do a trial run of a bad experience so you can be thinking about how do I recover in that scenario. So I hope that helps somebody out there. All right. Who just said, thank you. That is a great tip. Getting on that specific. Yeah, you have to be very specific around your ask. Awesome. Any more questions out there? How do you know when it's time to leave your job? Oh, yes. This is a tough one. A lot of people are struggling with this right now. The market is hot. A lot of people are finding that they're getting multiple offers a day around, hey, come look at this opportunity. If you knew how many opportunities I get on a weekly basis, people asking me to consider other opportunities. I think you really, this is where you got to be clear on what you want, right? And at your current place of employment, I think you got to evaluate the deal you're getting. And I'll say the deal because you got to look at it from a compensation perspective. You got to look at it from a role perspective. Is this a role that gives you energy? Are you learning new things? Does it light you up inside? Do you feel like you're in a place where you feel like they value your contributions, right? And you feel like you're being rewarded for your hard work. I also say you got to evaluate it from the company as a whole. Do you feel like you've got strategic placement, people strategically placed throughout the organization that's keeping an eye on things for you, bringing opportunities to you, looking out for you? If you reach out, they'll follow up with you. Have you started building those relationships? Do you have great benefits? Where are you in your life? Because remember when we had the career lessons, I talked about the life plan and the career plan have to come together. I kind of did the career plan and the life plan was the afterthought, but those two have to come together or they will collide at some point. So I do think it's important for you to evaluate your full deal. Do you feel like you could be promoted and get exactly where you want to go inside the organization? Whether that's a specific role, whether that's a specific level, whether that's a specific compensation. I would also tell you don't jump too soon. And some people tend to jump when they have one bad year. I actually think that is not a good decision because you never want to leave a company when you're upset. And you never want to run away from something. You want to run to something. I'm going to say that one more time for the people in the back. You don't want to run away from something. You want to run to something. All right? Because what you will find if you're running away from something, sometimes it has a way of finding you even at the new place because the problem is the person in the mirror. And we just have to accept that. So I always try to tell people if you're having a tough year, it's there to teach you something. What is the lesson it's there to teach you so you can get the lesson and move on? Hard times are there to teach you a lesson. What is the lesson you need to get so you can move on? I remember growing up, my mother said when I was really young, if you find that you keep repeating the same lesson, that's life telling you you didn't get it the first time. So we're going to keep showing up until you get the lesson. So just remember that. But whenever you're thinking about choosing and switching jobs, please remember you want to run to something, not run away from something. Because it's just really tough when you do that because at some point you're going to find every company has its warts. Okay? If you do switch jobs, how do you deal with the guilt? you might have for leaving the old one. You got to make peace. You got to make peace with why are you going to the other role. And when you've made peace and you're not running away from something, then you can just acknowledge this chapter has come to a close. And you can thank everyone for the investments they've made in you, the experiences you've been able to gain, and you can think about all the wonderful things that are ahead of you. You can send some nice thank you notes. You can send one beautiful email and blind copy all the people that you want to tell how much you appreciate and love them. But there's not a soul in the world that will be mad at you if you're chasing a dream or if you're moving on to greener pastures and this next opportunity is all about something you've been working towards. I think when it tends to get even more difficult is when people are running away from something. I just stress to people don't do it when you're angry, because when you do it when you're angry or fearful of something, that tends to show up again, and running is not always the answer. So, Madeline, did that answer your question? Or do you have more you want to unpack with me? You can come live if you'd like. Just let me know with a thumbs up or yes, or give me more clarity if you want more. Awesome. Any other questions out there? How are we doing on time? Good. Anything else on your mind tonight? Ah, very true. Don't run away, run to it. Yes, don't run away from it. And saw for the elephant in the room. That is spot on. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. I have to tell you, if I ran every time I was angry, I'd probably be changing companies every year. Because there's always that something that gets you wrapped around the axle, or you feel like, why are we dealing with this problem over and over again? And then you just jump, and you're going to find that you'll job hop if you do that. So just recognize that when you're going through those difficult times, it's there to teach you something, right? And more than anything, it teaches you resilience. Remember that. Oh, good, Madeline. I'm so glad that that was helpful. But usually, when I'm going through those difficult times, I can tell you that's where that muscle and that resilience is built through the difficulty. And that's why I think that's where you get that staying power in company relationships, in personal relationships, and business relationships. I mean, people probably call me loyal because I've been in my company, Microsoft, going on 24 years. But Microsoft's been great to me. I mean, I've had wonderful opportunities. Sure, I've had some difficult days, but again, when it gets difficult, doesn't mean I need to run. It just means I need to understand what is it here to teach me. And a lot of times I've learned a lot through that. And sometimes I feel like maybe that lesson wasn't for me. Maybe it was for the other person. I was just the victim in the process. But that's just my own personal joke I tell myself sometimes. So, what else is on your mind? Do I have any more questions on my side that I curated and brought over? Was that the last one, Ashley? Okay. All right, does anyone else have anything? Because if not, I'm going to go ahead and give you back your time if we don't have any more questions. Because today was just ask me anything about career and anything on your mind. So if there's no more questions, let me just close with a few things then. One, I want to thank you so much for joining. I'm actually planning some guest speakers that will be joining me in the future. But I want you to make sure you follow me on all of my social channels at Miss Lani Phillips. I will continue to do these every other week. We do record them, and so all of the recordings now are saved on a YouTube channel. So you will have access to the recordings, and please, the only reason I do this is because I'm just trying to help somebody. We don't have a blueprint. So since we don't have a blueprint, we need people who are willing to share their experiences. And I'm looking forward to bringing more people on to share their experiences with you. So with that, I want to thank you again for joining, and I look forward to joining you in April. And you have a wonderful evening, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are, and we will connect soon. Thank you. Thanks for joining, everyone. Thanks for doing all that makes my heart smile. I will be posting the recording right away. Thank you.